the first story we're going to look at actually has a learned experience for me today, Chippy, because I saw Chippy on breakfast this morning, and they were talking about police officers on the beat, right? And he puts out a really interesting conversation around police officers on the beat and how this government has promised more police officers on the beat and there's fewer. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a really good get, because we can go back and we can get that clip from Mark Mitchell. I could do that. I could do that good in this voice. Hang on. Mark Mitchell. When he kind of basically said, we're going to have more officers, there's these men and that, and I thought we could play all that. And then on One News tonight, the full understanding of Labor statements came out, and it's pretty embarrassing for Labor. But you know us, we call a spade a spade. Not a good look for Labor today. But let's start off with the breakfast conversation so you can hear where we all started talking about police officers on the beat.
Mr. Hipkins, I want to move on to police data, which reveals there are 950 fewer police foot patrols since Minister Mark Mitchell took over, including in places like Portakey from December 23rd, 2023 to June 2024. How concerned should the public be?
I mean, sounds bad, right? Sounds bad. Sounds bad. Sounds like a cock-up by this government, but we'll keep listening.
I think that, it once again shows that the National Party talked a huge game on law and order before the election, and they're just not delivering post-election. In my area, Upper Hutt, there's been a 75% reduction in police foot patrols since National became the government. That's not going to make our community safer. Police visibility is actually an important part of communities both being safe and feeling safe, and it's going backwards under this government. At most recent count, and I haven't got the most recent up-to-date numbers, but the most recent counts showed that there were actually fewer police on the beat. There's less police now out there, out and about, than there were when this government took office, because more people have left the police force.
Now, that might be true. We're not challenging that part of it. Fewer police officers. None of that's challengeable at the moment. That's not the big part that we're going to come back to.
I don't think that's making our community safer either. And it shows that all of that pre-election rhetoric, all of the bumper sticker slogans that they were spouting before the election mean nothing, because they're not actually delivering.
The police minister sent us a statement. He says statistics fluctuate month to month for a variety of reasons, and the Christmas period has different challenges for police. That's why when you're assessing data, we try to compare like for like. Is this just a bit of politicking from your end?
I think that somewhat contradicts all of the things that Mark Mitchell was saying when he was in opposition. Suddenly he's decided, that there is fluctuation in crime statistics, that there is fluctuation in policing statistics. He didn't take that view when he was the opposition police spokesperson. And so I think, again, it shows that they were just full of hollow rhetoric before the election, and they're not actually getting on top of the situation post-election. Mark Mitchell, I don't think he really has much of an idea about what's going on in the policing portfolio.
So pretty clear, right? The conversation was pretty clear. It was like, numbers have gone down, National promise numbers would go up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In that conversation, you heard them talking about fluctuations between month to month, and you want to compare like for like. And I agree with that. The problem is what Chippy did was, look at Mark Mitchell. Sorry, look at Mark Mitchell now wanting to, not cherry pick. They used to say we cherry, but the point is, even if this is exactly what National did, it doesn't mean if you do it now, it makes it accurate. Now, from a supporter's point of view, you might want to go, but we're going to do what they did, and they did to us, and they're bastards. Sure, but it doesn't make the numbers correct. So just to preface all of that, I just took a couple of minutes out of the story from tonight. So the big point is comparing December's foot patrol numbers to June foot patrol numbers. In December, I'm sure all of you in your teenage years and stuff have been off to the beach, New Year's Eve, for that week between Christmas and New Year's. The number of foot patrols goes through the roof. I had a batch in Northland at Mangawhai Heads. There was one local police officer, and then between Christmas and New Year's, there was about 15 there, right? And I've been to Mount Maunganui a few times for New Year's Eve as well in the North Island. The numbers of police officers go through the roof. So comparing foot patrols in December to foot patrols in June is not like for like. And this is the unfortunate thing that Labor's done. They look foolish, right? And this is not to say that the other guys haven't done it. We're just saying when the other guys do this kind of thing and cherry pick, we point it out. They look foolish. And the police spokesperson for Labor, Jenny, is it Jenny Anderson? Sorry, the name just jumps out of my head. Yeah, okay. Looks extra foolish when the reporter tells her what the numbers are, and she basically does a was that woman in America with alternative facts, Kellyanne Conway. She basically does a Kellyanne Conway and says, "I don't accept your numbers." So, but they're the numbers.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chewy. I'm sorry to bring you down, but we don't step away from when the left needs a kick in the ass. That's what we're here for as well.
You might have noticed lately more cops on the beat, taking to the streets on these high visibility foot patrols.
The public love it. It gives them a sense of security. They're building relationships with shopkeepers and retailers.
But Labor's claiming the numbers are falling under this government. Using police data, they compared nationwide foot patrols in December with those in June and found a 15% drop.
Police numbers are down, and also foot patrols across New Zealand are down.
What happens every December?
What happens every December is we sometimes see a peak.
Actually, as this graph shows, we always see a peak in foot patrols in December.
It's not a good look, Labor. I mean, it's not the biggest sin in the world, but it just looks foolish. Just looks foolish.
Kiwis head out to celebrate the summer. The police hit the beat too.
Do you think you're being honest, though, with the public when you're putting out these figures and you're taking December, where we know there's that spike, and comparing it to June?
When you track it across that period of time, there is an overall decline in foot patrols.
Okay, but if we compare things, if we take a slightly different period, if we compare June this year with June last year, there's a 5% increase. If we compare May last year with May this year, there's a 26% increase in foot patrols. In April, it's a 16% increase. I mean, the number of foot patrols is going up, not down.
We've seen a consistent decline, and there's a concern that particularly rural areas are seeing a decline.
Yeah, nonsense. They're cherry picking numbers.
In this government's first 7 months, there were nearly 37,000 police foot patrols. Compared to the same period the year before, that's up 10%.
So it's clear the number of foot patrols is going up.
I don't agree with your numbers.
How can you not agree with the numbers? This is off the police data website. This is the numbers.
Just because we see a spike in crime is not a sufficient reason to say that there should be fewer foot patrols. We should be seeing consistent foot patrolling across the board.
But there's way more foot patrols.
I don't agree with you.
There you go, Chewy. I mean, like I said, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not an Uffindale report or something like that, or a Darlene Tana, but it's embarrassing. And as people have been saying in the chat, and my thing, it's the doubling down. I don't accept your numbers, the numbers that are from the official, police website. And I got to ask the question, Labor, who the fuck came up with this plan? Who sat up on whatever floor of whatever government building you're in and said, hey, here's a good idea? I mean, anyone, the most, and even the withered up old journalist who's got no journalistic skills or ability left would probably see this hole, Joey.
Yeah, like if it's easy enough for Mark Mitchell to bat away, it's not good enough. Like there are heaps that you could criticize National on around how they're handling the police. Personally, I would just hammer the point of how many police are we losing to Australia every week?
Yeah.
How many? How many are leaving? How many are taking early retirement?
Yeah.
Just hammer that one single incontrovertible proof that most of them are heading overseas. I mean, even anecdotally, as someone that was very critical of this whole focus on foot patrols and it's all about the front line and that sort of thing, and back office has no value. Here in Dunedin, I've noticed the difference. Yeah. I work in the CBD. Obviously, there are other factors at play here as well. We had, unfortunately, a teenager stabbed and killed in our bus hub towards the start of the year. So the police have been visible. In the past couple of years, it was very rare to see a couple of cops walking up and down the CBD. Now I see them literally every day. So there is a change there, and I agree with Mark Mitchell, as much as that pains me, that it does give people a sense of safety.
Yeah.
Might not
And
actually be true, and we'll see when we've got some actual stats. But if Labor are going to flub something this basic as comparing like for like,
yeah,
busy period, quiet period, then they're going to keep getting smacked with this. And this is why we criticize it when they fuck it up, is we need this government to be a one-term government, and we need all of our opposition parties to be on their A game.
yeah.
And Ginny, I like you, but that was not your A game. That was bad.
Yeah, and look, people in the chat, right? Why aren't they doing this to Luxon? Says Ro. That'll be talking about the journalists. It's a bit pig-headed. It sounds like my ex's mother-in-law. Label is operating on vibes. Takes the focus off the extra 500 police. How are they getting on with that? She just kept digging. Labor using misleading stats. Now, the thing about this, right, is all of the questions about what they should be focusing on, the 500 police, what Luxon's up to, is correct, right? You're correct to say, if you think that the media is marking Luxon on a curve for those things, that's correct and that's fair. But what we can't do, me and Chewy, when I say we doing the show, we can't go, well, they're just so unfair to Labor, so who cares if they're unfair to National? Like, right is right and wrong is wrong. Good data is good data. Massage data is massage data. I don't care what the mainstream media does or other media do. We will look at the data and the facts, and we'll say, left, you've done very well. Left, you've done very poorly. Right, very rare that happens. Right, you've done very poorly. And if we don't, we just become one of those sort of fake actors pretending to be all neutral and stuff, where we have a bias.
Yeah.
We just tell you what our bias is, but you know what? In some part, I want to hold the left more accountable, because they're my peeps. I'm like, sort your shit out. Like on the right, keep doing the stuff that's not working. Go for it. But on the left, you don't have the grace or the space to make balls ups, because, as Chewy said, if this was going to be a one-term government, you got to get it right first time. And as someone who sits on the left, I will hold you more accountable, because you're my peeps, and I want you there. And if he balls it up, then you're not going to be there. I don't care if the right balls it up. They go for it. But if the left balls it up, then that impacts what I think would be a better country and a better led country, Chewy.
Yeah. I think if you're going to go after National on their policing, if they're going to hold up the fact of, like, hey, do you remember seeing foot patrols? National made that happen. If you can get someone like me that's been very critical of this to admit that I have seen foot patrols in my area a lot more often, then Labor need to hold this up and go, well, here's a reason why you're seeing those increased foot patrols, because we've looked at the numbers and it is correct. What's happening to amount of percentage of burglaries solved? What's happening to family harm call outs? Are we seeing more foot patrols for the touchy-feely stuff, and these other things are just tanking because we don't have the officers to be across it? That's what Labor needs to show. They need to show the cost of what could be charitably or uncharitably, I don't know, a national PR drive using our police to be visible, so they can point at them at election time and go, you saw more cops, you saw them, we did that. Law and order.
Yep. And I think, like, for example, the 500 cops, I don't think they're going to get anywhere near 500 new police officers. So keep diving into the stuff that does matter. Keep pointing out what is happening. And to be honest with you, at the moment, there's so much you can criticize and critique this national-led government for. You, I remember having this conversation, mate, Chewy, with a friend of mine when I was more involved in the religious world, and someone sent out one of those memes, and it was about Hamas. And I was like, look at these people from Hamas. Look at them marrying children. And all the people from Hamas are files. That word that gets you kicked off all sorts of things. Files. Peter. They're those Irish guys. Peterophile. And I took 3 minutes to Google it, because it didn't quite sit right with me, because I was like, if you were that kind of person, if you were that kind of group, you wouldn't let these photos go anywhere. And within 2 minutes, I found that within that culture, flower girls, they wear the identical dress to the brides, just a mini version of it. That's how they do it. And I said to my friends, I said, you know, if truth is on your side, if you are the righteous person, if you have the moral high ground, you don't need to make shit up, right? You don't need to make shit up, because when you make shit up, it just makes you look like you're as bad as the people who you are saying are bad for the country or bad for the whatever. So Labour, you don't need to make shit up. Just the facts, ma'am. That's all you need with these guys as it is. Just the facts.